Ladies and gentlemen, today I will start with a truth I've learned over decades of leading and building medical affairs teams, something that might surprise a few of you. Throughout the years of my career, I've interviewed hundreds of candidates and promoted many talented professionals into medical affairs roles. And here's the interesting part. Not once, not once did I focus on which school of medicine they graduated from. Why? Because when you're sitting across from someone in an interview, it's not the logo on their diploma that's going to tell you if they can thrive in this role. It's their skills, it's their competencies, it's the way they think, the way they solve problems, the way they can translate complex science into meaningful action. In fact, some of the best hires I've ever made didn't come from the most prestigious universities. They came from people who had sharpened their abilities through real-world experiences. People who could walk into a meeting with a key opinion leader and build trust in minutes. People who could analyze complex data and turn it into a strategy that impacted patients' lives. Think about it. The medical field has evolved dramatically over the last 25 years. The way we train, the way we learn, the tools we use, all of that has changed. And in medical affairs, this evolution means we value agility, critical thinking, and communication, just as much as, if not more than, the academic pedigree. So, as we explore the evolution of medical education in this tutorial, keep this in mind. The real story isn't just about what medical schools taught. It's about how the expectations for success have shifted. We've moved from purely knowledge-based qualifications to a dynamic mix of science, strategy, and human connection. And that's exactly where our journey begins today. Let's step back for a moment and think about what education looked like not too long ago, say 15 or 20 years back. If you wanted to earn a postgraduate degree from a respected university in the UK, Ireland, the US, or any other country, it wasn't just about paying tuition. No, it was a full-scale life commitment. You had to travel thousands of miles, often leaving your job and your family behind. You paid for flights, you paid for accommodation, and let's not forget the daily living expenses. And all of this came with a belief, sometimes an unshakable belief, that this massive investment of money and time would open doors instantly. You'd return home, degree in hand, and jobs would be lining up for you. But reality didn't always work out that way. Yes, the education was valuable. Yes, the experiences were enriching. But the world was already starting to shift. Employers began looking beyond degrees and started scrutinizing how you could apply your knowledge, how you could navigate challenges, and how you could deliver results in real-world settings. In those days, your academic journey was a physical one. You had to be in the room, on campus, in the library until midnight. And that meant education wasn't just about learning, it was also about logistics, finances, and sacrifice. Fast forward to today, and the landscape looks entirely different. That same postgraduate degree you once had to cross oceans for, you can now access it from your living room. Many of the same universities, the ones people used to uproot their lives to attend, now offer complete degree programs online. Sure, some of them are still expensive, but let's be honest, the cost is a fraction of what it used to be when you add up tuition, flights, housing, and meals abroad. And beyond the savings, the flexibility is a game changer. You can keep your job, stay close to your family, and still earn that credential from a globally recognized institution. And the quality? For many programs, it's on par with, or even better than, traditional in-person models. You're getting the same curriculum, sometimes taught by the same professors, and you're connecting with a global network of peers through technology. The classroom has moved to the cloud, and with it, education has broken through physical and financial barriers. This is no small shift. This is a revolution in how knowledge is delivered and who gets access to it. And when you combine this with what we discussed earlier, the fact that employers value skills and competencies over the school name, you start to see a powerful trend emerging. So let's connect the dots. If the school name doesn't define your career potential, and if high quality, internationally recognized education is now available online without requiring you to uproot your life, and if what truly counts are your skills, your mindset, and your ability to adapt, then we are standing right in the middle of a significant transformation in medical education. This evolution is more than just a convenience. It's a complete rewriting of the rules. It means that aspiring medical affairs professionals in emerging markets can access the same learning opportunities as someone sitting in London or New York. It means that career growth is no longer limited to those who can afford the relocation and living costs of an overseas degree. And here's the part that excites me most. It puts the responsibility and the power directly in your hands. You can choose what to learn, when to learn, and how to apply it. The playing field is more level than ever before, and the real differentiator is not your address or your school crest. It's your ability to turn knowledge into action that makes a measurable difference. This, my friends, is the turning point. And from here on, everything about how we prepare medical affairs talent will be shaped by these new realities. Now, here's where I want to add a word of caution. And this is something I've seen over and over again in my career. Many academic professors are brilliant in their fields. They've mastered the theory, they've published the papers, they've delivered countless lectures. But here's the catch. In many cases, they've never actually done the job you're aiming for. Think about that for a moment. If we've already agreed that employers are looking for skills, the kind you can only sharpen through doing, then isn't it worth asking yourself, who is teaching me these skills? Are they someone who's navigated the same challenges I'm about to face? Or are they someone who's only ever studied those challenges from the outside? It's a bit like learning how to swim from someone who's only ever read books about water. They can tell you the theory of floating and the mechanics of a perfect stroke, but they've never felt the panic of jumping into the deep end, or the satisfaction of reaching the shore after a strong current. And that's why today, the smartest learners aren't just looking for affordable programs. They're looking for the right mentors. They're seeking out educators who have actually done the work, people who have sat in front of a KOL and had to build trust in a single conversation, people who've managed product launches, navigated compliance hurdles, or turned scientific data into strategic action plans. The truth is, you don't need to spend tens of thousands, even on online programs, if you can find the right educator, one who combines academic grounding with hands-on experience, one who can say, I've been where you are now, and here's what worked and here's what didn't. Because when you learn from someone who's lived it, you're not just getting theory, you're getting the shortcuts, the context, the reality checks, and the confidence that comes from knowing you're being prepared for the world as it actually is. Now, let me tell you why this point is especially critical for medical affairs. This isn't just any corporate function where you can get by with generic management skills. Medical affairs is a unique space. It's where science meets strategy, where regulations meet innovation, and where patient impact is always at the heart of the work. If you've never done the job yourself, never been out in the field, never sat with a KOL to navigate a tough scientific discussion, never dealt with the pressure of aligning a medical strategy with cross-functional business goals, then, no matter how smart you are, You simply can't educate, coach, or manage people who are doing it right now. Here's why. The challenges in medical affairs are rarely textbook problems. You can't flip to page 42 and find the answer. You need to know how it feels to prepare for a high stakes advisory board, where the outcome could change the direction of a launch. You need to understand the reality of juggling compliance requirements while still trying to innovate. You need to know the balancing act between being the scientific voice of credibility and also a trusted partner to commercial teams. I've seen it firsthand. Leaders or trainers with no practical medical affairs experience often end up giving advice that sounds great in theory, but completely misses the reality on the ground. And the team can sense it immediately. You lose credibility fast when the people you're leading realize you've never actually walked in their shoes. In contrast, a leader who's been there can coach on the nuances: how to handle an unexpected challenge in a KOL meeting, how to read the subtle signs that a project is off track, how to prioritize when everything feels urgent. They don't just tell you what to do, they can tell you why it works because they've done it under the same pressures. That's why in medical affairs, experience isn't just nice to have. It's the foundation of effective leadership and meaningful education. Without it, you risk creating a disconnect between what's taught and what's actually needed to succeed. And in a role that directly influences patient outcomes and scientific credibility, that's a risk we can't afford to take. So now, if you're seeking to learn or study, ask yourself this: who would you choose? Someone purely academic, who can give you the theory but not the reality. Someone with real world experience, who's lived the challenges you're preparing for. Or, ideally, someone who brings both to the table: the depth of academic knowledge and the wisdom that only comes from doing the job. That choice will shape not just what you learn, but how ready you'll be when it's your turn to step into the role. So, let's bring it all together. Over the last 25 years, medical education, and especially education for medical affairs, has undergone a dramatic transformation. We've moved away from a world where the name of your school defined your worth, to one where your ability to think critically, act strategically, and deliver results is what truly matters. Online learning has removed borders, making top-tier programs accessible without the life-changing costs and sacrifices that were once required. And just as importantly, we've learned that who you learn from matters just as much as what you learn. In medical affairs, experience isn't optional, it's essential. The most impactful training today comes from educators who combine academic credibility with first-hand in the trenches experience. They're the ones who can prepare you not just for the theory of the role, but for the unpredictable, high-stakes realities you'll face in the field. This evolution is more than just a change in format. It's a change in mindset. And for those ready to embrace it, it opens the door to faster growth, deeper competence, and a career built on genuine capability rather than credentials alone. Because in the end, the real measure of your education isn't the certificate on the wall, it's the difference you can make when you put that learning into action. Thank you, and see you soon.